So we were making progress on our '69 Pontiac Firebird Routy project. The next step after the subframe was attached to the body was to start fitting the sheet metal to the car. The first piece was the original radiator core support, and then Nathan moved on to the doors. He began by rebuilding the door hinges to make sure that they open and close properly without any play in the pins and bushings, because you can't get the doors to align if you've got sloppy hinges. Then Nick and Nathan mounted the hinges to the doors and hung the doors on the body. The best way to make sure the parts fit is to start in the back of the car and make your way forward, as the quarter panels are not adjustable. Once the doors were hung and the door to quarter panel gap is aligned, they grabbed the original GM fenders and hung those on the body. The goal was to get all the body panels on the car to see if they needed any modifications to make them fit right. The crew had been anticipating the next piece, which is a newly reproduced all-steel 1969 Trans Am hood. Ta-da! A Mustang hood. There's been a lot of interest in this hood because an original Trans Am steel hood is off the scale as far as how much they cost. I mean, I've heard them go for up to $15,000. On eBay. I haven't confirmed that, but if you find one on eBay, look it up, and they're crazy. So the steel one, when you bolt it in, it actually fit pretty well.
Slam it.
But Nathan seemed to think it was just a hair wide, I think, at the top and at the nose. We also learned that the original cowl screen was bent, which had an effect on the way the hood and fenders fit together.
This thing's tweaked. Well, everything's off.
Oh, I can watch these panels twisted.
So they had to order up a new cowl screen, but that didn't stop the crew from getting the hood and fenders to fit, and the new hood looked pretty good so far. After playing with that alignment of those panels for a while, we ended up with some inconsistencies in the door to quarter and fender to door gap spacing. They might have been tight at the top and loose at the bottom, or the other way around. So the way that Nathan decided to attack this was to get everything as tight as possible, just bolting it all up. And then he used some welding rod and actually welded the rod on the end of the door to extend the door skin just a little bit, or extend the fender, or extend the door to the fender, in a couple different places. And the reason that this stuff didn't align properly is because the quarter panels had been replaced on this car. They did a pretty decent job overall, but it just wasn't a perfect fit. So rather than go through and reinstall the quarter panels, which the car really did not need, we decided to kind of tweak those alignments a little bit by adding a little material to the door where it was necessary. Next, we moved to the rear deck lid and found something that we found to be kind of common with F-body cars, Camaros and Firebirds, the first generation, in some of the reproduction panels, where the panel skin is not completely solidly welded to the panel substructure, and the skin can move on the structure, which again makes things a nightmare to line up. So Nick in the shop stripped the paint, the E-coat from that seam where the inner panel's welded to the skin, and TIG welded those little spots together to solidify that. Next time we install our Firebird's nose.